Hi everyone, welcome once again to Dada's FoodCrave kitchen. If you are new to my channel, I want to thank you for stopping by. In today's recipe, I am going to make some couscous benachin, as some will call it CousCous Jollof. If you are interested in seeing how I make this couscous benachin jollof, please stay tuned, and please don't forget to hit that subscribe button and hit the notification bell, because you'll be the first to be notified whenever I upload a video. So without any further ado, let's get cooking. Alright guys, here I have my meat all washed up really well. I'm just gonna add some couple of dashes of black pepper. I am also gonna add some salt. I'm using sea salt. You can use any salt you like. I'm also gonna add some couple of dashes of garlic powder. And I'm gonna add few drops of white vinegar into the meat. So what you're gonna do now is just make sure everything is mixed really well. And this time around, I'm just gonna season my meat for at least 30 minutes while I prep the other stuff. So while that's already seasoned, I'm just gonna put it aside and start chopping up my ingredients. You need here some cabbage, 1 onion, butternut squash. It's just like pumpkin. If you can't find butternut squash, you can use some pumpkin. I also have some couple of carrots and some squash there, and some eggplant. You're also gonna need some diced tomato. If you don't have diced tomato, you could always feel free to use some fresh tomato, and some tomato paste. You need some green onions, some scallions, and 1 big onion. So you want to cut your yellow squash just one lengthwise once. Like so. You could cut them into 4 pieces if you want. I just decided to cut them in 2 pieces. And I'm also gonna cut up my eggplant. I'm using 2 of each. You don't necessarily have to use the exact amount of vegetables that I'm using. You can use a little bit, like I said, depending on the size of your pot. You also want to cut your cabbage. Make sure you cut it right on top of the head right there. This will allow the cabbage to stay intact as you're cutting it. I'm probably not gonna use all of those vegetables, because like I said, depending on the size of my pot, we'll see if everything fits in my pot. And then you're gonna cut up your butternut squash. If you also want to cut the butternut, peel the butternut squash, the skin, you feel free to do that. I am not gonna take the skin off. I like the skin on it. I think it's better to leave the skin on because, like I said, once the butternut squash is all cooked, sometimes it tends to mashed up in the pot, and I don't want that. The skin will like help the butternut squash to stay intact as well. As you can see, I still have the seeds in it, so all you're gonna do is make sure you scrape all the seeds out and give it a good wash. So I'm just gonna scrape some of the skin off. That's exactly what you want to do. Make sure you take all the seeds off, like I said. You don't want to leave the seeds on. And now all that our ingredients is all cut up. Vegetable, you're gonna add 1 cup of your favorite oil. I'm using canola oil. You can use vegetable oil, but you don't want to use olive oil. You can use vegetable oil, corn oil, or canola oil, whichever oil you want to use, but please don't use olive oil. So now my meat is all seasoned up really well while I was cutting my vegetables. You want to make sure the oil is really hot. So now I'm just gonna add my meat inside the oil and fry it. So at this point, what you want to do, you just want to mix it up a little bit and let the meat fry, like I said, and then you can cover the pot because you want to see your meat really fried up and brown. You want to brown your meat at least a little bit. So while my meat is frying, I'm just gonna chop up some onions. I'm using 1 onion into my blender. You don't want to just dump the whole onion into the blender, but it will not blend really well. Just want to cut it in pieces, and then I'm gonna add my scallions, my green onion, and 1 habanero pepper. I'm also gonna add 4 cubes of Maggi. And I'm also gonna add my diced petite tomatoes. Like I said, if you don't have that, feel free to use 1 large fresh tomato. I am also gonna add my homemade ginger garlic paste. I want you guys to know that my next video I'm gonna be uploading how I make my homemade ginger garlic paste. Like I said, this is so convenient. It will last you, like I said, at least 6 months depending on how often you use it. So stay tuned for that recipe. It's coming up, how to make ginger garlic paste. I'm also gonna add a couple of dashes of black pepper, and some salt. I'm also going to add a little bit of water just to help the blending go smoothly. because at this time I'm using my other blender. I'm not using my good blender, so as you can see, it will take me some couple of shakes before it can really blend through. And if it doesn't, if it's giving you some heck, just make sure you guys use a spoon and push everything down. And voila, you have all your blended ingredients into one blender. So as you can see, the meat is browning up really well. It's gonna create its own juice. It's gonna create some water, especially when I added the vinegar. That's what's causing all that creating all that juice. But don't worry, don't feel discouraged. All that water is gonna dry it up and it's gonna all turn to oil. You want to make sure all that water is all dried up until the only thing you can see is the oil. So you're gonna cover the pot once more and keep checking it. Make sure it's browned, your meat. I'm checking it again. As you can see, all that water is all gone. Now all you can see in the pot is just the oil. And my meat has browned a little bit. All that water is gone. All that water from the vinegar is gone. See that? So this is optional. You don't have to do it, but I like to add one whole onion first before I can add my blended ingredients. So I'm just gonna add that into the pot. Like so. And let it saute a little bit. And now you're gonna add all your blended ingredients, your scallions, your onions, your ginger garlic paste, your habanero pepper, black pepper, salt, Maggi, everything that was in the blender. You're gonna add it into the meat and saute that as well. Make sure it's fried really well. And now what you want to do is you're gonna add some tomato paste. If you want, you can use the whole can of the tomato paste. If not, you could just use half of it. And that's exactly what I did here. I only use half a can of tomato paste. And it's the no added salt tomato paste. So you're gonna make sure you mix that up really well and let it allow it to brown up a little bit as well for a couple of minutes. And make sure don't turn your heat too high. So this was like around 5 minutes or so. Came back to check it. And everything is browning up really well. I'm just gonna give it another couple minutes and then check on it again. As you can see, the tomato is all cooked really well and the onions is all fried up. And the sauce is brown. So here I'm just gonna add some water. I have like 5 cups of water. Like I said, depending on the size that you're making, if you're gonna cook one cup of couscous, you want to add probably, I would say, 1.5 cup of water. Or if you're not sure about the measurement, just make sure the couscous or the water is right above the couscous. You don't want to add too much water or else your couscous will be very mushy. So what you want to do next is just add your vegetable and let them cook down and make sure it's all done. I'm going to add my butternut squash, my eggplant, my yellow squash, my cabbage, my carrot. You want to add that into the pot and make sure it's cooked really well. I usually don't like to cook my vegetables all the way done. I like it that half and half. I mean, it's gonna be cooked, but it's not gonna be really like too wither. As you can see, I didn't add all the vegetables because the pot is too small. So I'm just gonna save those other vegetables for another recipe. I think this is perfectly fine. It's enough for me. So I'm just gonna add a couple of leaves of parsley, fresh parsley, just to give it a little bit of aroma and taste. It's optional, you don't have to. You can use bay leaves if you want. You could use thyme, but I think the parsley will go really well with it, with the couscous. So I'm gonna add my habanero pepper so that I can squeeze it on the side. I feel the need to add a little bit more water. That's what I did. I'm gonna taste for my salt here. I needed more salt, so I'm gonna add a little bit dash of salt. Make sure when you're cooking you add salt or pepper into your own liking. So you just want to cover the pot and give it some time so that your vegetable will be all cooked nice and soft, as you can see there. So what I'm gonna do next, I'm gonna take all my vegetable out of the pot. You don't want to leave it there. You want to make sure you take them out. I'm gonna take my vegetable out. I'm gonna take the meat out, everything out of the pot. I mean, if you want, you can leave the meat inside, but you don't want to leave the vegetables inside. You can leave the meat inside. You don't necessarily have to take them out. I want to take them out. And I think it's better to take them out anyways, but you can leave them in. It won't harm anything. So I have 4 cups of couscous here. That container right there, the whole thing is 4 cups. So they have them in a box. So I'm just going to add 1 more cup, which will be total 5 cups of couscous. And you want to make sure the water level, it's not, the couscous is not too, you want to make sure the water is floating really right in the surface of the couscous. So I have 5 cups of couscous there, but I would say 5.5 cups of water, like so. See, that's how you want the water level to be. Because right now, what's really gonna cook the couscous is the heat of the water, not the temperature from the stove. At this point, you want to turn your stove off. I'm gonna add a little bit of salt. Again, I needed some salt. Trust me, guys. I know it seems like I eat a lot of salt, but it just didn't taste, the salt didn't taste the way I want it to taste in my food. So like I was saying, you want to make sure you turn the stove off. So I'm gonna add the rest of the juice that came out with the vegetables. Make sure you mix it really well and turn your stove off. Your stove doesn't need to be on at this point. You're just gonna turn your stove off. You're not cooking rice, you're making couscous. And all it requires is that heat from there. And give it like 10 minutes. And come back and check it, and your couscous is ready. Do not leave your stove on. As you can see, the couscous is ready. It's all nice and fluffy, looking all good. Getting ready to dish it out and eat some. I was so hungry. So this style of couscous, in Gambia we call it couscous benechin. In other parts of the world, some will say jollof, but the real jollof, it's called benechin. The real word for jollof is called benechin, but some will call it jollof, but the real word is benachin, 1 pot. And benachin is originated from Senegal, then Gambia, then it starts spreading all over. Like the Nigerians and the Ghanaians will say jollof, but the Senegalese and the Gambians will say benachin, which means 1 pot. So as you can see, my jollof slash benachin is ready. I'm just gonna dish it out in a plate. It's so yummy, guys. I hope you guys will try this recipe, and if you are enjoying this video, please give it a thumbs up. And please, if you are new to my channel, don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so that whenever I upload a new video, you'll be the first to be notified. What I'm gonna do next here is I'm just gonna put my meat on top of the couscous, kind of like dress it up a little bit. And I'm gonna add my vegetable as well. I mean, there's different ways to cook jollof. There's different ways to cook benachin. You could make this recipe with rice. If you can't find couscous, it's the same way with rice, but the only difference is when you're making the rice, you want to keep your stove on. But this type of recipe, when you're making it with couscous, right after you put the couscous into your pot, you want to make sure you turn your stove off. That's the only difference. You could make this the white way, you could make it the red type of way with the tomato. But I'll be coming up with different ways of cooking benachin. I'll be making the rice one, I'll be making the red one, the white one, just to show you different ways of cooking benachin slash jollof. As you can see, my couscous benachin jollof is ready. I can't wait to try it, guys. I hope you guys will try this recipe, and please leave your comment down below if you guys tried or you have any question. If you like it, let me know what you guys think. It's always a pleasure from my kitchen to yours to bring you guys always delicious recipes. I will see you guys in my next video. Ta-ta! Bye!